Day 159, and just dropped my daughter off at Voice so she could do some singing, and I'm sitting in the car for another 45 minutes, so let's make a video. Let's talk about some stuff. Yesterday, I brought up a new perspective, okay? I've received a new perspective that I've been using for about a week. The higher mind that's everything, okay? The higher mind is the eternal mind. It's where all ideas and inspirations come from. So when you can connect to the higher mind that knows all, the people that you see who are the most successful people, they've figured out how to do that. And the more unsuccessful you are, the worse you are at doing that. You are completely just standing in your own way, which is what I've talked about I've been doing for basically my whole life. I've been my own worst enemy. And so now that I'm realizing, okay, about the subconscious mind and falling asleep in the wish fulfilled, but then also reminding myself during the day that in order for me to receive any new information, any new ideas that I need to move me forward, I need to let go of trying to figure stuff out. Because the mind, the personality mind, the physical mind, the mind that we use to try and figure stuff out is not the mind that needs to figure stuff out. It's the perceiver. You are just supposed to perceive with your physical mind, whether it's perceiving your simulation and being grateful for stuff and things that are happening in your world, or whether it's to perceive an idea or a message from the higher mind. But if you're trying to figure stuff out, your higher mind is just sitting there waiting for you to stop. And so your brain is the receiver between the two. The brain receives the message from the higher mind, and when you're ready to listen, you can accept that message and move forward with your life. And so I've been doing this for the last, like I said, 6 or 7 days, and everything was getting better before, but now it's like, things are really starting to improve. As I said yesterday, I'm just starting to see things like so clear, almost like Neo in the Matrix, if you've ever seen that. Like, things are kind of in slow motion for me. A little bit. Not completely, but a little bit. And so this morning, I woke up and my wife and I have a coffee date each morning before she leaves to go to her place of employment. I work from home. As I've said previously, she works at a school. She's, like an executive at her school. And so her and I are having coffee, and I hear the washing machine running, which is right next to the kitchen. And so I'm like, you already have laundry in? Do you need me to switch something over later? And she said, no, I guess that's Tyler. Tyler is our oldest son. He's 19 years old. And Tyler had just left. He's going to the police academy. And so he leaves before my wife. And I've had a conversation with Tyler 2 or 3 times about using the washer and dryer during the week, because I wash clothes during the week. So if Tyler wants to do a load of laundry, I asked him to coordinate that with me. Check in with me. Hey, John, are you doing any laundry today? Or is it okay for me to use the washer tomorrow? So I was surprised to see that he's running a load of wash, which I know he's not going to be back till 4 or 5 o'clock. And I had a couple loads that I wanted to do today. And so right off the bat, I started having those old thoughts a little bit. But like I said, everything is starting to slow down. I realized right off the bat what was happening. I said, oh, okay, that's what's happening here. I need to take the wisdom from this, and instead of starting to think about things and get frustrated about how many times I've told him and had a conversation with him, and he still is either just hasn't get it or he doesn't care. But either way is besides the point, because everything is happening for me. And so I let it go, take the wisdom from it, and move on. I don't know what the wisdom is at that moment, but like I said, it's just my job to stay out of the way. The higher mind will let me know what the wisdom is. And so I move on with the day. I wake my daughter up for school. My wife leaves. I wake my daughter up for school. When I wake her up for school, I take the dog out. And so I go into the mudroom, and we have a mudroom closet with jackets, and there's a small space on the floor to kind of store some things. And I've told both boys, we have a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old, they can keep one pair of shoes in that mudroom closet. The oldest son, Tyler, who I just talked about, he's done great. He only keeps one pair of shoes in there. I never have an issue. The 17-year-old, on the other hand, I've had the same amount of conversations, probably more, with him about how many pairs of shoes he's leaving in that closet. Again, from my perspective, if I talk to you once and you forget, I get it, okay? If I talk to you twice, 3 times, now it's time for me to be assertive, right? Because it's either like I'm not delivering the message the way it needs to be delivered in order for him to just leave one pair of shoes in that closet. But again, I see not only does he have 2 pairs of shoes in there now, but he's also left a pair of shoes in the middle of the mudroom floor. At that point, I realized what the day was. This was a day that I needed to relive. And so I wanted to talk about what I've realized that about a month ago, when we were transitioning from summer to fall, I had a realization that I am going to have to go the entire year and face all of the similar challenges that I used to face, all of that old vibration, and detach and take the wisdom from all of these challenges in order for me to level up and create something new for next year. So this is where the slow motion part comes in, because I could have reacted, number one, to the first thing, the washer, and if I had stayed in that, guess what would have happened? I would have been even more upset. I would have been cursing to myself. I would have been just thinking about all these things that I'm going to say. I'm going to lay into them. I'm going to maybe text my wife. All right? But since I was able to catch it so quickly with the washer, this was easy. I was like, oh, okay. And now let me just say, I rarely have these issues. This is few and far between that either of these things happen. But at the same time, when you have a conversation with someone and, you expect kind of, especially if you have 2 or 3 conversations, you expect them to acknowledge and adhere to the rules that we've talked about. Okay? Let me turn these lights on. I feel like it's getting dark. Let me see. These are some cool lights. I'm not even sure. I think I've showed the lights before. But anyway, so we're back to, so I realized at that moment, there we go. That's better. So I realized at that moment that this was just going to be one of those days where I was going to have challenges coming from the kids. And I knew my daughter was next, and she didn't disappoint. I'm not going to go into what happened there, but I had already knew that it was coming. But if I wasn't in the present moment, if I wasn't making these videos, if I wasn't falling asleep in the wish fulfilled, if I wasn't just leveling up over and over again and having these realizations, I would have been the same person that I've always been, and I would have relived that. So the echo that I'm talking about, the echo, I know, is just, think about your beliefs, okay, that I talked about, that I've been talking about recently. If beliefs are only beliefs because they're solid, okay? When you have a belief, your simulation becomes those beliefs. And so, in order for beliefs to be beliefs, like if you had a belief and you could just say like, oh, I want to change this belief, and then it changed the next time, a belief wouldn't really be a belief. It has to have like a reinforcement. And so when you decide that you want to change a belief, you are going to have to prove that you can handle the same circumstances that you've faced before, and you are going to have to prove that you want to change that belief by having the same experience and responding to it differently. And so that's what I was doing today. And then so, as I said, Peyton, something happened with her as well, but I was already ready for it, so it's pointless to even talk about. But I knew it wasn't done. I was ready for more. I'm like, let's go. And so I had done the loads of laundry, and I was going to put clothes in the bathroom downstairs. I knocked on the door because the door was closed. Nobody answered. And so I opened up the door, and the 17-year-old was using the restroom, and he says, bro. And I said, did you not hear me knock on the door? If you're in the bathroom and somebody knocks, you want to let somebody know, especially if the door's not locked, that you're in there. And so my wife was in the kitchen and she heard it. And so I'm walking out and she says something about my tone. And I said to her, please don't right now. Now this is where my wife and I would go back and forth. The kids are there, and it would have turned into maybe fireworks between us. But since we've been leveling up gradually, we've had conversations. When things have happened and we've had arguments, we know we're not those people. We know that those are just old beliefs that we picked up, that that's not us. So we've had conversations about how can we handle this moving forward? Because when that old person comes in and you're in that old state of consciousness, even for a couple minutes, things can snowball pretty quickly when you're in a relationship and, you know, you've had those things in your past that are re-emerging that you have to face again. And so we talked about when we have a disagreement about something with the kids or something we want to change about either of us, we would make sure that we have a private conversation about it moving forward, because that is something that has triggered us in the past. If she would disagree with something, or if I would disagree with something, it wouldn't matter if the kids were there or not. I would call her out. And when you do that, you're no longer united with that person. And it does something, especially to me, when she does that, there's a trigger because of, you know, some beliefs that I picked up from someone in the past. But since I know all these things, I know how the day's playing out, I'm just ready for everything. I'm like, come on, let's go. And so when she said that, I wasn't surprised, but I shut it down really quick. And I said, please don't. If you want to have a conversation about something that's happening with me right now, we need to have it privately. And that was it for that. And then but at the same time, she said something back and I really didn't respond. And then we were eating dinner. In the past, I wouldn't have ate dinner. I would have been shaking from so much anger, frustration, how she just spoke to me. We had a deal that we wouldn't do this in front of the children. And now you're talking to me like this in front of the kids and you're kind of taking his side. I would have got wrapped up in all of that. But instead, I reminded myself, everything is for me. And so I sat there and I waited for my higher mind to give me the wisdom. And my higher mind told me, I received this message. Maybe you can dial back your tone just a little bit. And so I did. I kept it, still assertive, okay? Still strong, but also warm, caring. And so now we're having dinner conversation, and because I was able to do that, next thing you know, the 17-year-old and the 9-year-old, Peyton, are doing math homework together. He wants to tutor her on fractions, and it was because it came from me. I was the one who basically made it happen. But these are things that would not happen. So I want to give these examples because I want you to see how everything is connected. When you change your perspective and you change your energy and you change how you're seeing things, things change. Everything changes. It's back to falling asleep in the wish fulfilled, but this is also because I'm falling asleep in the wish fulfilled and I've been doing it consistently as much as I have. Now I'm just gaining access to this information. And this is where I'm really leveling up. Because my wish fulfilled is somebody who makes millions, $10 million house, $30 million in the bank. The guy I was a month ago with the trembling voice 2 months ago, how's that going to happen? It's not. I had to change. But I also had to become present in order to access the higher mind to receive this information that I needed. And so now my perspective is changing so much faster than it was in the beginning when I started making these videos. Probably my first 100 videos, I didn't even really talk about being present. I talked more about, it only matters, falling asleep and the wish fulfilled is the only thing that matters. And at the end of the day, it is. But once you're doing that consistently, there are things that you can do during the day, which is number one and only thing is be present. And when you realize how it works, you're going to be present all the time. You're not going to have to convince yourself to be present. You're going to be like, bro, if I'm not present, I'm not moving forward today. I'm going to stay today who I was yesterday because I'm not going to receive any guidance from the higher mind. Now that I understand that, that's motivating me even more to be present. All right, so that was my day. Lions Den, 5 people falling asleep in the wish fulfilled. Brent, Kate, Shadow Flare, Nora, and Thankful. All staying consistent, all changing their lives. Again, if you want to join the Lions Den, it's not a subscription. It's not anything that you have to sign up for. All you have to do is leave a check mark and tell us you fell asleep in the wish fulfilled, and I'll shout you out in the next video, just like I just shouted those people out. All right, so that's going to be it for today. I believe it was day 159. I'm kind of losing track, but, day 160, I think tomorrow, almost halfway. We got like 22 more days, and we're halfway there to a year, 365 days. I love you all. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a great night. Bye.